Hello and welcome to Legacy Curious. This is your host, David Gravelle. Today, I welcome Michelle Wing, a world-leading thought leader and subject matter expert for children's health. Since 2005, her fun and scientific It's Yoga Kids system has taught physical fitness and mental health to kids around the country. Her work has been featured in Yoga Journal, Today.com, and Parenting Magazine. She's a board member of the International Child Research Institute and a registered yoga teacher with Yoga Alliance. Michelle's a former competitive Disney dancer turned yogini and ex-Microsoftie flipped to mompreneur. Her globally recognized It's Yoga Kids warrior training program develops thousands of leaders, impacting millions of children. Let's welcome Michelle to the show and learn about her and her legacy. Well, hi, Michelle. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you, David, for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. And I love the company that you started and running, and it's called It's Yoga Kids, and we'll get to that in a minute. But it's something that is near and dear to my family's heart. We're on that yoga journey and looking forward to learning more and hopefully taking some steps with you and your organization. But what I wanted to have you on today was just to get to know you, learn about your legacy so far and what you hope to leave behind and what comes next. And so in order for our audience to get to know you a little bit, why don't you start with tell us a bit about what it was like when you were young, where were you born, what was your family like?
Thank you. Sure. I was born in Denver, Colorado, actually, and we moved to Arizona when I was just a 1 year old. And my father is a tennis player. So we moved to Arizona where he could play tennis. And he also worked for Motorola for 30 years. So he was just had a life that was set there. And I also have twin brothers. So I have twin brothers who are about 2.5 years younger than me. And we grew up in Arizona in the hot heat.
Yeah, so you're probably active though, right? You seem like an active person. What kind of activities did you do in Arizona to
Very,
kind of avoid the heat? Was it
yeah,
tennis too?
definitely
Yeah.
tennis and swim. So, yeah, we were at the tennis and swim club a lot. And then, of course, my brothers and I all did seasonal sports and all of the things along the way. I discovered dance over tennis when I was about 10, and I started a track and ballet at that time, which was really exciting to me. And so I loved dancing because I could win without somebody else having to lose.
Right.
So I think what I didn't know at the time was that I had a pretty big nobody really talked about empathy then. People talk about empathy now. And so
Right.
I think I was a bit empathetic. I knew that it would be okay if I didn't win, but for the other girl, I wasn't so sure. There's a lot of competitive parents out there.
Sure.
So,
Right. No one's
um,
keeping score on the dance.
yeah, but in dance, I could just
Yeah.
be the best and it didn't
Yeah.
matter because somebody else might not make, but it wasn't my fault that they didn't make it.
Right. Didn't cause it. You weren't playing defense. Yeah,
Exactly.
so
I
that
was
sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know. What I didn't hear was yoga. Was that not part of, your
Oh,
community
nobody yeah,
activities? No,
much
it hadn't
later,
heard that.
much
Yeah.
later, much
Okay.
later.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
was a dancer with, I was a ballet dancer with a business degree. So my parents were like, "Sure, you can be a ballet dancer as long as you get a business degree." So, I went ahead and got a business degree.
yeah.
I was
And where'd you study
fortunate to
that?
be good
Did
at
you go out of
school.
state or was that in the state?
I, got into UCLA, but my dad was like, "I'm not paying for out-of-state tuition, so you can go to ASU." So I went to ASU.
Yeah. And you had a good time there, I'm assuming, and yeah,
I
learned.
did. I ended up being very involved at school, in the business school there, which is quite reputable. And I also was part of a sorority, and I was also part of a collegiate team on campus.
Okay. And when did you first feel the entrepreneur spirit or bug? Was that when you're in school, or was that something that came later?
It's so funny you say that. I'm reminded of one of my college projects. I was actually studying advertising and marketing in that business school, and we did have to create a new product and basically market it or sell it. And I'll be dating myself a little bit because this is the very late 80s. But you used to have to walk into the gas station and pay for gas. And so my product that I created was pay at the pump, but it was more like a vending machine with actual money because we didn't really use credit cards. So
Right,
everything was still all cash. So
right.
yeah, I had the idea to pay at the pump when I was in college. And then a couple of years after, or maybe like not very long after that, pay at the pump became real.
Wow. Okay. And so out of school, what were the type of jobs that you were interested in? Where did your career take you? Was it still in state, and was it corporate world
Yeah.
like your dad with Motorola flip phones? Were you chasing the flip phones?
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, for me, I did an internship. I did a dance program at Walt Disney Florida. So they did a nationwide search. They were looking for 6 female dancers, and I auditioned just for the fun of it, and it turns out that I made it. So I was selected as one of six typecasted female dancers, and did a Best of Disney show at Cinderella's Castle for 4 months in the late 80s. And the people I met there were either going to Broadway, and a couple of them stayed at Disney, and a couple I knew I needed to finish my degree. So I went home. And then another one went to work for a cruise line, actually. So I graduated in 1990, and things were not so steady at that time in the
Mhm.
business world. It wasn't a great time to graduate from college, actually. So a lot of people went to get their law degrees or their master's. And I did not want yet another business degree. I just got one. So for me, I ended up taking a job with Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, and I cruised the Caribbean for almost a year.
That sounds exciting. It must have
It was
been,
fun.
yeah, it must have been a really fun time for you in your life. Now, that probably brings a whole bunch of other challenges with it. So maybe speak to a bit of that. What were some of the things that you had to overcome, and how did that
That
go?
was actually pretty easy. So you
Okay.
get on a ship and you leave your life, and you rotate in a circle. I think the challenging part was that I'm a going someplace person and a going no place because
Right.
the ship just goes around in a circle. But I did meet my husband in St. Thomas. He had graduated from school in Texas. He was from the Bay Area. I had fallen in love with San Francisco my freshman year when we came for Cal and Stanford games.
Okay.
And so at 17 years old, I stood in downtown San Francisco, not ever having been in a city before, and just feeling it in my feet. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what this is, but I like it.
The energy, right?
And
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I can definitely identify with that. It's just like
yeah,
the buzz that's going on that you just can tap
it's
into.
just
Yeah.
something in the earth for
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted to either be in New York on Broadway as a dancer, and if I were going to activate my business career, Um, my husband was from the Bay Area, and it was easy for us to start there. And so in 1991, we moved to San Francisco together at age 23, and started an adventure.
Yeah, good for you. And you're still there, right? Is that
I'm still here 30
still here
years later.
loving it? Yeah. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
change a thing? Good, good.
Yeah. Don't believe everything you see on TV about San Francisco.
Okay. Right. And so tell us a bit about, fast forward a little bit to where you're starting your own business. And you're a mother, and I think you've used a term in a previous conversation with me called mompreneur. Am I saying that
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
So let's talk a bit about that. What's that like? What drove you to start your own business, and what it's like to wear both of those hats at the same time?
Sure. Yeah, so after coming to San Francisco, I started my corporate career, and I ended up working in sales at Microsoft, and I really loved my job there. I also discovered yoga during that time because I had let dancing go. And so I was like, whoa, what am I going to do with my body? And I tried this new thing called Yoga Works in
Yeah.
Santa Monica in the early 90s. And I was like, wow, this really works. This really got me physically, it got me mentally, and I just really loved it. And so I knew that that's what I would be doing in terms of, exercise. And so I found a studio here in San Francisco, and I was just plugging away, um, you know, in my tech world. Um, and then I became a mother. So I became a mother in 2002, and I could not get to the yoga studio anymore. And I started doing yoga at home when nobody was really doing yoga at home. And then my daughter was a year and a half at the time, and she just started modeling me. She started doing like this whole
Right.
practice that
That's
I
what they
do,
do,
and she
right?
did it
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
perfectly, like in her own perfectly modified way. And I just thought, wow, do kids do yoga? And I was getting a little antsy being a new mom. Working at Microsoft was really demanding, and I
Right.
just wanted to be able to raise my daughter and the child that I was going to have, because I knew I wanted two with more freedom and flexibility. And so I began to put myself through a master's program of kids in yoga. And that was a self study program where I went ahead and got adult certified, prenatal and postnatal certified, infant massage. So any certification I could take, I took it. But then I bought all 5 books that were on Amazon when Amazon was just a bookstore, one terrible DVD that was like really such a joke. And I thought, wow, is this all there is? Like, my kid's doing this full thing. So she's either amazing or this is
Right.
normal.
Right.
I was like,
Yeah.
needed to find out what it was. And so I guess my business mind was like, do kids do yoga? And I set out with a query to find out why they should not do yoga. And 20 years later, I still don't have an answer to that question, why they should not do yoga.
And they just
So
seem
yeah,
from your own experience, it just seem to be able to, learn quickly, understand it, move their bodies in those
it's just really
ways, hold those
natural.
poses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's natural to them, and then it will extend their attention span. That's the biggest problem we have with
Yeah.
children right now. We're in an
Right.
epidemic, a mental health epidemic for anxiety and depression, and our kids just simply don't have the skills. And we don't have them as leaders, as adults, whether we be parents, educators, coaches, or instructors. We don't always have the skills either. So yoga has been a really powerful tool for me to be the best version of myself. And when I'm the best version of me, then that is going to trickle down to the little people in my life,
Right.
or hopefully everyone that is surrounding
Sure.
me.
And that makes sense. And so, it started with you trying to, bring this type of instruction to your kids. I mean, it started from your just kind of love of yoga and your instinctive idea to help kids, access it and use it. And so, where did it grow from there? Did you start to find people to train? What were
Yeah.
the early parts of your business? What did that look like?
So it did take me 3 years of research and development to come up with the concept and the curriculum of It's Yoga Kids. And then I had my second baby. So that was in 2005. And that's when I birthed the business as well. So I unwittingly gave myself twins, which ended up being more difficult than I realized, because I don't know, I guess I thought I did something right. Our daughter was so easy. And then we had the second one. I was like, oh, I guess you just get what you get. So that was a new one for me. But he required much more of me than she did. So that was difficult during those early years, actually. So, growing a business, and because we opened in 2005, we ended up hitting 2008 financial crisis right in the
Sure.
middle of our toddler years, and that was hard. That was really hard. That had a trickle down effect here in the Bay Area. That enabled, this is a dual income kind of place. This
Right.
this place costs a lot of money to live, and so unless you've got a nanny who can bring the kids to enrichment programs programs. Moms really struggle to have the right life work balance
Sure.
for themselves here. And
And many
I know
times
moms struggle
it
with that
comes down on their
everywhere.
shoulders exclusively.
Yeah, but it's a big
Yeah,
weight.
yeah,
And yeah, and so we had to, once I had developed the curriculum, we had tested it in schools and we were really successful in schools. And then I really wanted to be able to control the environment, which is why I opened a yoga studio. And the yoga studio served, prenatal all the way to kids going to college. So just the full age spectrum. And we had that studio until COVID when, we needed to move out temporarily, but a tech company moved in on my beautiful bamboo floor. And so we moved outside. And honestly, yoga works just as well outside. So we've always been in the school system for after school programming or enrichment programming. And we've always been in our studio space, but we moved outdoors and it's been wonderful. I mean, the kids really do well in nature. And we run summer camps and classes, and we moved our parties outside so people will celebrate their birthday parties with yoga. And it's just been the most rewarding work I could ever do. And I'm really, really grateful for what I've created and the way that I've been able to bring other people into the system.
yeah. It sounds like you've been very resilient, and that resilience has brought in new opportunities and probably expanded in ways that we're fortunate to find were a natural place to be. Like you said, outside it just brings another dimension to it, right? You're getting the benefit of that experience as well as the yoga. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great
Nature
combination.
heals.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So tell us a bit about the people that you've trained and kind of how you've duplicated yourself and expanded, your reach and that, because it sounds like this has grown through the certification of other professionals to provide this type of instruction, and that's how your reach, has gone beyond San Francisco, frankly, right?
Right. Yeah. So pretty early on, there wasn't really anyone who had cracked the code on kids yoga. I mean, there is definitely it's not necessarily an easy space. And so there were a lot of well-intended people, but maybe not a lot of well-trained people. And so when we started our certification course, almost right away, we just started training other leaders because our mission is that every child has access to yoga so that they can feel healthier and happier. Like
Right.
that's it, hard
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
I did completely miss the boat on social media. I knew when it came out that it was terrible. I thought it was terrible. I didn't understand it. I didn't like it. I didn't want kids on screens. I didn't want to be on screen.
Agreed. Right.
There were no phones in yoga studios, so there's a
Right.
bazillion cuteness, amazing things that happen that never ever got captured. And these are other people's children that I can't just be posting photos of,
Right.
right?
Right.
Even with
Exploiting.
photo permission.
Feels
So
exploited.
I
Yeah.
really felt challenged around the whole social media trend and system that still is not dead, unfortunately. But that was a hard one for me. And so everyone that has found us through word of mouth, found us through the internet because we rank pretty high on Google.
Mhm.
And so they found us because they were either looking or because they'd heard about
Right.
us.
Right.
And we were kind of tucked into the Presidio. We didn't have a sign. So it was like kind of the best kept secret, actually, for a very long time. And I was fine with that because it meant that whoever found me or us was really meant to be with
Right.
us.
Right.
And I love teaching people who know that this is what they want. So that was a real blessing in a way, but it was also a massively missed opportunity.
Sure. Sure. Well, again, the scaling has to come with, thought and certain level of control. And social media
Yes,
has a chance, has a chance to just run wild, and no one wants to be viral for the wrong reasons. And even the right reasons sometimes just means you're overwhelmed and you don't want to give a poor experience because, frankly, you're dealing with young people and you need them to be, protected and safe all the time. And so
correct.
growing in a predictive way, controlled way, I think is a smart move. And so let's talk a bit more about that. Um, what does the future look like? What's coming, down the pipe shortly, and then what do you have as a longer term vision for its yoga kids?
Thank you. Yeah. So, prior to COVID, we had trained about 1,200 people in our system. And those were all people who came to me for in-person training.
Hmm.
And so we had that course, and people traveled, and I also traveled. I traveled to China to teach this system every year for a decade prior to COVID. Since COVID, and the blessing of technology has been the opportunity for me to re-establish a system, a hybrid model of learning that enables more people to come through our system at a lower price point, so that they can replicate what I've done in San Francisco in their own areas, in their own neighborhoods, in their own communities. And that has been wonderful. So we have 3 levels of training now. And the first level training is either a warrior weekend, we call it warrior one training, or it's a self-paced 24-hour course that some people binge and have it done in 3 days,
Yeah.
and other people take their time with. But um, that is the starting point, and that will give anyone the skills that they need to succeed immediately. Some people take that and they're good. They're good to go. Thank you very much, and that's it. Other people have found that they would like a little bit more support. So I have live coaching, a weekly Warrior 2, a Warrior Pro coaching call. And some of my friends like to have the full Yoga Alliance 95-hour children's training,
Yeah.
which is a registered children's yoga teacher. And we have that system available too. So it's really nice now that you can take your time and get certified at the level that you want based on what your objectives are. We have parents who might just want to volunteer at their children's school. We have educators who want to bring yoga into the classroom so that the kids can be more focused and more effective. We have coaches who are working with young athletes that want to make sure that their bodies are safe, that they're mentally focused and able to perform, and that they still love the sport that they're playing after 8 years, because the research shows that they will burn out. And so those are the types of people who do our program. Along with teenagers. We had teenagers who have been in our yoga classes for years, and then they decided to get certified, and then I was able to hire them to teach camps, which is great. And the young kids love having big kids and be their leaders. And so it's really been a wonderful ecosystem
Yeah,
from
that
cradle to
sounds like a
college.
lifeguard type of situation where teenagers, they teach younger kids how to swim, and and so they're
Yeah,
their guide, and I know kids want to emulate older kids, and so I think that's a great idea, and I can see why it would be successful. So you've talked a bit about some of the places where it's being successful. And let's just kind of run down the list for some of our watchers and listeners. Daycare centers, like community centers, in
absolutely.
schools,
Anywhere,
right?
anyone who lives or works with kids
Right.
is is a good person to be a leader in It's Yoga Kids. Yeah.
Okay. And how can they get in touch with you, Michelle? What's the best way to, start their journey
I think with
learning?
some of our freebies, so I write an article every week about why yoga, basically relevant to what's happening. We just wrote about Mother's Day. This is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah.
So we've got, free information every week on our website. So that's an article that I publish. And we also have some freebies that people can download, like how to make your wishes come true. That's always a good one. How to handle tantrums and moods from toddlers to teenagers. That's a good one. How to calm your baby, how to soothe your baby, and how to protect young athletes so that they can be peak performers. Those
Okay.
are some of the freebies that are on our website at it'syogakids.com. And that's 3 words,
Okay.
it'syogakids.com.
And for our audience, it'll be in the description, and we'll also put your contact information in there as well. And encourage people to
Sure.
reach out to you directly. Is that something that you're hoping?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
They can
Yeah.
reach you
My
and talk to you and engage with you on their projects, or if they're at a school board and they want to make, school wide.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yes.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining us today, Michelle. I really appreciate you here. And, I would love to have you back on maybe in the future to teach us a couple of things. Have a quick
Yeah.
one or two, pose or movement, episode where we can just take something away and use it right away. But for today, I just wanted us and our audience to get to know you and learn about It's Yoga Kids. And we'll thank you one more time and see you in the future.
Thank you.
Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. And if you or your kids want to get involved, visit it'syogakids.com and look for Michelle and her trainers in your neighborhood. Thanks. And once again, this is David Gravelle with Legacy Curious. If you or anyone you know would like help securing their legacy or want to be a guest on this show, reach out to us at legacycurious@gmail.com. Everyone has a story. Let's make sure yours is heard and remembered.